On this episode of In the Gun, we've got the Mountaineers 2026 football schedule. We'll comb through that thing, talk about what we like, where we're concerned, all that and more on this edition of ITG.
Caution, this podcast contains bad jokes, optimism, and a healthy disdain for Pat Narduzzi. Watching it may increase your actual knowledge of actual football.
ITG.
All the pieces are in place for us to have a chance to win it all.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
There's Owen Schmitt in the building.
Like a runaway beer truck down the sidelines.
Towards the end, he in there, Jed Drenning.
I'm not much of an athlete.
The thing that's non-negotiable is playing hard and playing tough.
And Wesley, Valen, Uhler. You are in the gun.
Because once you enter this family, there's no getting out.
In the Gun, episode 320 of your new favorite WVU football podcast. I'm your host, Wes Uhler. As always, with the best teammates in the business, you've got me and the signal caller, Jed Drenning, on this edition of ITG. And as always, we have got a whole village of people that make this possible to thank right off of Jump Street here. A big shout out to JR, everybody at Team Toothman. We all know cars cost less in Grafton. A thank you to our buddy Rick Lewis and the good people at Fortis for roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed. You got to visit fortis.us.com. Our friends of the show, our friends in real life, Johnston Equipment, Tim, Emily, Bryce. It's been great getting to know them over the past year or so here. Make sure you are visiting them, Route 33 between Weston and Buchanan. You can also check them out anytime online at Johnston, that's Johnston with a T, JohnstonEquipment.com. And of course, to the Morgantown staple, the Book Exchange. Get all your WVU gear and apparel at the Book Exchange. 90 years, over 90 years of providing everything you need to prove you are the ultimate WVU fan. Shop their two locations, of course, downtown and on Evansdale on Pattison Drive, right there in front of Towers. Or you can always shop online at bookexchangewv.com. Jed, we have a schedule. I love this. I'm sure I've said this in the 4-year history of our podcast. This is probably the 4th time that I've said this. I love how we get the college football schedule for the upcoming season in January, months and months and months and months ahead of time, and there's 100 and some Division I schools and all these moving parts that have to happen. Meanwhile, we won't get an NFL schedule until the end of May, early June, something like that, when the season's just 2 months away, even though there's only 32 teams in the NFL. I digress. The NFL does that because they can, and they need to, dominate every single month with something content-wise, and the schedule release in May has become their way to dominate May. But we have the Big 12 schedules, the WVU football schedule for the upcoming 2026 season already. That is going to be the majority of this episode. But Jed, before we get into that, did want to do a little quick around campus shout out. In particular, pardon me, for our men's basketball team who, hey, don't look now. They're playing good hoops. They're getting hot at the right time. They've won 4 of their last 5 here since dropping that Big 12 conference opener out in Ames against Iowa State, against what was at the time the number 3 team in the nation, the Cyclones there. But since then, beat Cincinnati, beat Kansas. Okay, went on the road and took one on the chin against top 10 Houston, but then came back home and beat Colorado by double digits, and then went on the road Wednesday night to Arizona State and beat the Sun Devils by double digits on the road. A huge one on Saturday in Tempe, Arizona, Tucson, right, is the Arizona Wildcats. Tempe is Arizona State. Am I right in that, Jed? Right?
Correct. You are correct.
Yes. So they just won in Tempe Wednesday night. They're in Tucson Saturday just to play the number 1 ranked team in the country, the Arizona Wildcats, on the road. Hey, if you go and get that, Jed, that's awesome. That's gravy. That's extra money. You split in Arizona. That's what you were trying to do. But all of a sudden, the Mountaineers playing some good ball after some frustrating non-conference losses. I think particularly that game against Clemson that you let get away, Wake Forest, the double overtime loss to Ohio State. You were kind of kicking yourself. Hey, they're starting to work their way back into the bubble conversation now with this good start, 4-2 in conference play in the Big 12. We all know the gauntlet that the Big 12 is. They'll come back home next week for home games against Kansas State and Baylor. But so far, so good, Jed. Like we've said, hey, you're going to play a lot of these games on the road against number 1, number 3, number 7 in the country. Those are tall tasks, but take care of business in those other games that you should win, or those 50-50 games like you played on Wednesday night out in Tempe. Take care of business in those, and you're going to have a good chance to be in the conversation in March. And so far, so good in that regard. Ross Hodge has this thing moving in the right direction.
You don't want to say you're heading into Tucson with house money, but to some extent you kind of are.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you can play competitive basketball against the Wildcats, that would say a lot in itself. But if you can go out there and shock the world, that's an all-timer right away, right out of the gate. That's an all-timer in terms of where you'd rank it as regular season wins go for West Virginia basketball. That is
no doubt
maybe at the top or certainly toward the top. But a couple of things with that. The latest projections that I was discussing this with a buddy today. ESPN now has us as a 20-win team potentially if it plays out the rest of the league schedule the way it may, which would put us, as you touched on, right on the bubble to be, screwed over by the Bubbas of the world on the committee. but just enough wins to get upset probably, right? But I'll tell you this: the win at Arizona State, the icing on the cake had to be the fact that I don't know how many Bobby Hurley fans are even out there. But I don't know if you saw his post-game remarks, but I think he was having like an out-of-body experience after the game. I mean, he's in a bad place. He was in a dark place.
The Hurleys on the opposite side of the coach on the coasts are in much different mindsets. The Hurley brothers on opposite sides of the coast there.
He's saying we haven't played well at home since before COVID. I mean,
since James Harden was still on campus, we haven't played well at home.
So kudos because we got it rolling. We've turned a bit of a corner. Knock on wood. Let's keep that thing humming. As you said, if you can go on the road and steal a few that you're not expected to steal, and play well at home, and defend the Coliseum, who knows where you might find yourself, but it feels much better than it did, let's say, a month and a half ago, right? So
totally,
that's where we're at. But yeah, that Ohio State game was just a kick in the gut, and after that, you're like, oh, is that what this team is? A team that can't sustain leads? And I mean, but here we are, So let's keep it up.
Jed, teams are allowed to get better. Coaches are allowed to get better. Players are allowed to get better. Big shout out to Trey Eaglestaff, who has just been on fire lately. He started out the season a little bit slow, but he was probably the main reason why we were able to win Wednesday in Tempe. If they could get Eaglestaff playing, up to snuff, up to what we all thought he was going to be after transferring from North Dakota. Obviously, Honor Huff continues to just drain threes like he's automatic. They are moving in the right direction. It's obviously a big gauntlet in the Big 12, but like you mentioned, you can get to 19-20 regular season wins, add a win or two in the Big 12 tournament. You will have a great chance of, Jed, 4th different head coach in 4 years. If you were to make the tournament this year on your 4th different head coach in 4 years, that would just be like, I'm not trying to be hyperbolic because I know we do that a lot in sports, but that would be incredible. 4 different head coaches in 4 years and to make the tournament, that would be a heck of a feather in the cap and a really encouraging start for Ross Hodge. Don't call him Hoge. So let's keep it going. Even if Saturday against number 1 Arizona doesn't go our way, big opportunities against K-State and Baylor back at the Coliseum next week. Let's pack that place out and make it rowdy.
You can't sleep on a 20-game, winner in the Big 12. You just can't.
Can't do it.
I mean, you just can't. I mean, this conference is too solid. It's too deep. It's too extraordinary. There's no off nights. There's no empty chairs. I don't care if you're going into Tempe and stealing one or where else you might be. This isn't like other leagues. But the nature of it is let's have a good showing. Follow up that win at Tempe with a good showing in Tucson. That's really what we're after, is a good showing, because Arizona, if you go up there and kind of, dribble with your left hand and
lose by 20
and have any kind of hangover because of this travel and this trip that you're out there, they will escort you out the door and put paddle to butt very promptly. They're built to do that. So you better show up, better play good basketball, and maybe the pucker factor sets in. And like I said, let's go make some history. If not, let's go play some good basketball and then get back home and take care of business.
Absolutely. Love the fact that you went on Wednesday. Like you said, it does kind of feel a little bit like house money on Saturday. Let's go out there, cut it loose, and see where the chips may fall before you head back across the country to get home to the friendly confines of the Coliseum. The Coliseum, by the way, Jed, where the Mountaineers are 12-0 this year, won their last 3 games last year, 15-game win streak at home at the Coliseum. Let's continue to make that one of the toughest places to play in all of college basketball.
We've never lost a game at the Hope Coliseum.
Undefeated at the Hope. What are you talking about? We don't lose. We don't lose.
That? Yeah.
They need to give the student sections. Although, never mind. I was going to say like undefeated at the Hope, but yeah, then that's just how you jinx it, right? Never mind. Forget that I just said that.
Let's knock together. Yeah.
Strike that from the record. Real quick shout out to the baseball team too, who's getting ready to get their season going here before too much longer. Ranked 21st in the preseason polls by Baseball America. After that outstanding season last year, primed for another good year this year. And then I wanted to give a shout out to Chase Meyer, Jed, who's a junior relief pitcher for the Mountaineers, was named a preseason first-team All-American. So pretty cool. You're ranked in the top 25. You got the next Mariano Rivera coming out of the bullpen. Let's get this thing going.
How about that? We're brushing right up against being a baseball school. We are, and you know, it's not often that, you know, we don't drive by the baseball facility. And I look to my wife and I'm just like, you know, it's so fun now being a baseball town. It just is. It's like, first of all, that facility changed the outlook or the feel and the vibe of Morgantown and University Town Center. But the fact that you can go out there and watch high-end, high-caliber, elite major college baseball, if you so choose to, it's just such an extra cool thing that we've said it how many times on the show. Growing up, as a member of the Atlantic 10 baseball, Big East base, it wasn't the same. It wasn't like this. So to get into a premier baseball conference and be one of the better programs in it, it's just a really cool vibe for Morgantown at large.
I completely agree. If you would have told me this what we are now back when I was in school, and I mean, I'm not a young pup anymore, but, you know, I graduated in 2013, so, you know, about 12, 13 years ago. I mean, from playing at Halley Field in front of 20 people in a stadium that wasn't even fit for most high schools, to where we are now is just unbelievable. I would have never have thought that this was possible, and a lot of people deserve credit in that, and they've gotten those flowers over the years. But yeah, Jed, you're right. It's transformed that part of town. It's transformed a fan base, and even look, you know, like, yeah, we talk about the Zach Frasers of the world, you know, and the Deuce McBrides of the world, the guys that go on from our basketball and football programs to do good things in the pros. Look at baseball, man. J.J. Weatherholt, 7th overall pick last year. He could be the rookie of the year in baseball in the NL in this upcoming season.
There's chatter.
You've had ace pitchers on staffs like Alek Manoah with Toronto and John Means with Baltimore in the past. I mean, ace pitchers on MLB staffs from our program. Again, this kind of stuff was unheard of 15 years ago, even 10, 12 years ago. So pretty cool, and something that we'll always take time to shout out here on this program.
Absolutely. And, you know, the fact that we can have these conversations about regionals, potential super regionals, it's just whoever would have thought of that. And
I love it.
It's a dimension to West Virginia sports that nobody saw coming. And I just can't say enough about it.
I can't either. And it's been a lot of fun these last few years, and hopefully we're primed for an exciting 2026 as well. Let's get to our break. When we come back on the other side, we have the Mountaineer football schedule for the 2026 season. We'll go over it, comb over it, what we like, what we don't like, and some way too early predictions to go with that thing as well. We'll do all that when we return. Uhler, Drenning, you are in the gun. For nearly 20 years, Fortis has been the nation's leader in providing guaranteed roof performance programs for commercial buildings. Fortis offers roof performance solutions that feature extensive initial and ongoing reconditioning for commercial buildings as an alternative to traditional replacement, with long-term performance guarantees that are backed by global leader Lloyd's of London. Fortis offers a comprehensive range of roof performance management programs that provide financial security, extend the life of our customers' roofs, and make a significant impact on ROI. Fortis is currently improving performance and increasing ROI for customers at more than 4,800 locations, with more than 140 million square feet protected, including many Fortune 500 companies that have turned to Fortis to save money, gain financial certainty, and extend the life of their existing roofs. Fortis has helped customers save more than $520 million in capital roof replacement costs for an average ROI of over 250%. To learn more, visit fortis.us.com. Fortis, roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed.
Nobody supports the blue and gold Mountaineers like Toothman Ford. With over 20 NIL deals and counting, Toothman Ford continues to rally behind our student athletes. And it's time we rally and support the dealer that supports the Mountaineers. Not only does Toothman Ford offer the best prices in the state on pre-owned, their never over MSRP campaign on new Fords guaranteed to save you thousands. Drive with pride all season long, knowing you're supporting the dealer that fuels our Mountaineers. Toothman Ford, where cars cost less, in Grafton and at toothmanford.com.
When the sun's just rising and the work won't wait, you need the equipment that works just as hard as you do. Johnson Equipment delivers power, performance, and reliability day in, day out. Whether you're plowing fields, hauling loads, or planting the future, our tractors are built to take it and then some. Strong, reliable, ready.
Low rate financing available on select Coyote models.
Johnson Equipment, farming made easy.
Get all your Mountaineer gear in WVU apparel at the Book Exchange. They're the locally owned and operated retailer with more than 90 years of selling everything you need for game day and everything else you need to show you're the ultimate WVU fan. Shop at their 2 locations at downtown Morgantown or Evansdale on Pattison Drive, or online at bookexchangewv.com.
When shopping online at bookexchangewv.com, be sure to enter code INTHEGUN20 at checkout for an awesome savings of 20%. That's right, 20%.
Back in the gun here as we roll along, and look no further, we have a schedule for the WVU Mountaineers football team for the 2026 season. Non-conference games, conference games, home, away, the dates, everything but the kickoff times, basically. My goodness, it would be great if the NFL took note and started doing something like this. Okay, I'll stop. I promise that's it. I'm done. Jed, 12 games for the Mountaineers. Once again, 7 home games, which I love. 1 neutral site game, pardon me, and then just 4 true road games. That probably right off the top is something that I love the most. Just 4 true road games this year, 7 home games, 1 neutral site game. I love how that all plays out. But let me, Jed, just run through the gambit for everybody real quick, and then I'll toss it to you, and you can kind of give initial observations, and we'll bounce back and forth. The season this year will start a little bit later calendar-wise than we're typically used to. Saturday, September 5th, because Labor Day is the first Monday in September always. But this is that weird year where September 1st is on a Tuesday, so we won't get Labor Day all the way until September 7th. So it's that like once every 6 or 7 years when Labor Day is really late in September. So the first Mountaineer game won't be until Saturday, September 5th at home against Coastal Carolina. You'll also the following Saturday host UT Martin. And then to round out the non-conference schedule, down in Charlotte, at the Carolina Panthers Stadium, Bank of America Stadium there in gorgeous downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. We'll have a neutral site game against Wahoo Wah, the Virginia Cavaliers, coming off the best season they've had in decades. So that is your start of the season and your non-conference slate. And then you open Big 12 play at home September 26th against Oklahoma State. Go on the road October 3rd, that first weekend in October, to Ames against Iowa State. Back home for 2 straight weeks to host Arizona October 10th, and then Cincinnati October 12th. Every game for WVU this year on a Saturday, by the way. No Thursday, no Friday, nothing like that. All Saturday games this year. Correct. Then you will go, the only time this year that you have to play 2 road games in a row will be at TCU and at Texas Tech. But you have a bye week in between there. So at TCU, Saturday, October 24th. Bye week, Halloween weekend. Hey, students, have fun partying. Hey, parents, you're welcome. You don't have to worry about trying to balance a WVU game with trick-or-treating. So Halloween weekend is a bye week. That works out well for all the students and for all the parents out there, certainly. Then Saturday, November 7th, you go to Texas Tech and take on the reigning Big 12 champions in Lubbock. And then you're back home 2 straight weeks, November 14th against Kansas, November 21st against Houston, the Cougs, coming to Morgantown for the first time in Big 12 play. and then you close down the season in Salt Lake City on the road against Utah Thanksgiving weekend that Saturday. Jed, that is the slate for the Mountaineers in 2026. I'm sure a whole bunch that we want to parse through here. I kind of mentioned to you the first thing that stood out to me: 7 home games, only 4 true road games. What else you want to kind of hit here right off the jump?
Some of that, of course, is downstream from how the Big 12 schedule is staggered. One year you're going to have 5 at home, 4 away. The next year you're going to have 4 at home, 5 away. So anytime you have the year with the 5 conference home games, you have an opportunity to stack up some extra home games, which Ren Baker has done. So
yeah, well, I was going to say we just did this in 2024 with the 7 home games.
That's right. 7 home games, that's meaningful. So again, only 4 true road games. Big difference, because that animal in Charlotte, as we talked about last week, I would fully expect Mountaineer fans to be flooding that joint. So against UVA. So that's interesting. But that's the first thing that jumps to mind. And the other thing, Wes, you hit on, it's all Saturdays, no midweek games. And that's right on the heels of the Big 12 actually mentioning the conference championship game will be on a Friday night at Jerry World. So 12 Saturday games for West Virginia. A couple things that jump to mind. First, you have an 8-game grind before your bye. And so what I did was I went ahead and took a look. Okay, when do the Big 12 buys fall? Let's start with this. TCU is the only team with 2. Part of that is because they have an overseas game in Berlin. They face North Carolina, isn't it, in the opener? So here's where the buys fall for the various Big 12 teams. And, theoretically, in a perfect world, each team's different, but you'd like it after 6 games to split your season right down the middle. But if you're healthy and you're humming, maybe you'd like it later. Who knows? And let's hope that's the case with West Virginia, as we'll get into here. So TCU, after 1 game, has a bye following that opener. That's to give them a break for the international travel, which is strange because after 3 games, you have Arizona State, BYU, and Kansas. Now, that makes sense with Kansas and Arizona State because they play in week 3 in London, but they don't get 2 buys. They just get that one. Meanwhile, TCU has 2 buys. So after 3 games, you have 3 teams get their bye. After 4 games, K-State, Oklahoma State, and Utah get their bye. So they're on the opposite side of what West Virginia is dealing with. They play 4, get a bye, and they have to play 8 straight to finish the season. After 5 games, here are the teams that get their bye: Baylor, Cincy, Colorado, TCU, and Texas Tech. After 6 games, again, theoretically, the most ideal of buys belongs to Arizona, UCF, and Iowa State. And then finally, after 8 games comes West Virginia's bye. They're right there with the Houston Cougars in terms of the latest buys of the season. That's one thing that jumps to mind. Now, the other thing that jumps to mind is, okay, where are those buys placed in terms of who you're facing, who has one also, who doesn't have one also? So the first thing that will come to mind is we play one team that is coming off a bye when we don't have a bye, and that would be Cincinnati when they come to Morgantown. Cincinnati's coming off a bye, but West Virginia does not have that bye. That game's October 17th. So we play at home against Arizona on the 10th when Cincinnati will be resting and getting ready for the West Virginia game. But here's what's interesting to me. Our bye gives us a week off before Texas Tech in Lubbock,
which is huge.
But Texas Tech does not have the week off. And here's why that's so intriguing to me. Mountaineer fans, if you're dialed in, you understand and appreciate the recent history of these disadvantages in West Virginia being on the business end of this against Texas Tech. Let's go through it. In 2019, Texas Tech had a full 2-week bye to get ready for West Virginia. West Virginia had the week and a half, 1.5 bye, because we were coming off the Halloween Thursday night game at Baylor, so we didn't have the full bye. 2020, Texas Tech had a full bye to get ready for West Virginia. We did not have a bye, so they had the advantage. 2022, Texas Tech had, stop me when you hear a trend emerging here, right? 2022, Texas Tech had a full bye to get ready for West Virginia. Once again, we were coming off a Thursday night game, so we had the 1.5 bye. And meanwhile, last year, finally, Texas Tech once again had a bye to get ready for us in week 12, but we also had the bye for the first time. This is the first time the shoe's on the other foot, and West Virginia will at least have the full bye to get ready for Texas Tech. And of course, when you're playing Texas Tech, you think you're going to need that bye. So Texas Tech won't have it, and we will when we travel to Lubbock on November 7th. So we will play at TCU, come home, take a break, and then go back to the Lone Star State on November 7th. So that jumped out as well. Cincinnati, as I touched on, has the bye. Now, we will face in the opener, you touched on Coastal Carolina. Now, in the opener, you're going to face the first of 4 new head coaches on this schedule. 3 of them, I like where they fall. 1 of them, I don't. If you're going to face a new staff, there's an advantage and disadvantage to facing them in the opener. Ryan Beard is the new head coach at Coastal Carolina, coming out of Missouri State. So you're going to be breaking down a lot of Missouri State tape. You're trying to be ready that way. There's a lot of speculation, theoretical guesswork. Whereas, of course, that's always the case in an opener. But when it's a new staff, all the more so. So you got to get ready for that. But the upside is they're still trying to break things in, kick the tires on the program they're taking over, figure out their team. So you have a new staff in the opener, and then we host UT Martin, and then we go to Virginia, as you touched on, for a big regional battle. And then we start league play on September 26th, which gets us into the second new head coach we will face. Oklahoma State with a new staff. Eric Morris, after wild success at North Texas, comes to Stillwater to take over the Cowboys, brings half his team with him. This is Kurt Signetti style with bringing all those kids from JMU to Indiana. That's kind of what Eric Morris has done, including one of the best quarterbacks or most coveted quarterbacks in the portal, one of the most coveted running backs in the portal. He took basically the entire team that won all those games at North Texas. Neil Brown at North Texas, you talk about starting from scratch. They're starting from scratch because all those North Texas players are in Stillwater. So it's a new staff, it's a new program. They'll still be getting a feel for things. You want to catch a new staff early. That's the way I always looked at it. If you can overcome the forecasting part of it and the guesswork of not understanding entirely what to expect out of them, they're still trying to figure out their strengths and weaknesses as well. So your conference opener is against a new staff. That's a good slot for that, I feel, in Morgantown against Oklahoma State. And speaking of a new staff, you turn around a week later, another new staff. You go to Ames, Iowa, and now you're facing Jimmy Rogers, fresh out of Washington State, taking over what right now is a decimated Iowa State program because Matt Campbell left, and Matt Campbell took so many players from Iowa State with him. Rocco Becht and on down the line. There were a ton of players. Last we checked, 17 or 18 from Iowa State that landed in Happy Valley with Penn State and Matt Campbell. So Iowa State's in rebuild mode. What can Jimmy Rogers do there? He's a great coach, and I do think he'll get it done. But at the same time, it might take them some time to get their sea legs, right? And so when they're trying to get their feet under them, catching them early, maybe that's advantageous. So that's one of the other things that I look at is when do you catch these first-year coaches?
Yeah, totally.
Well, the only other first-year coach we face is Morgan Scalley, who was the coach in waiting at Utah, who not only will they figure out who they are by week 12 when we go to Utah and Salt Lake City, but he's already been on staff. And so it's not as disruptive and as seismic a leap as these other programs are taking, you don't figure. So that's something else that stands in mind when you talk about those new head coaches. Again, week 12 at Utah with that internal hire, I don't think is as big a situation. And then the other thing I look at too, this is the second year in a row that this has been the case. TCU, we go to Fort Worth, we go to A&G Carter Stadium to play them. And what's interesting to me is it's the week after they play Baylor, just like it was this past season. That's a big deal. That's the rivalry game. Yep. That's a big rivalry between those two schools. So I'm not going to say it's like catching us after we play Pitt and maybe there's some element of a hangover, but I kind of felt that was part of the why that TCU game played out the way it did in Morgantown last year is they were just coming out of that Baylor game. Yep. And it'll be the same situation this year. They're fresh out of that rivalry game. So that's what I looked at, Wes. Big picture, if you want to look at the other teams that have a game, let me see. I have that somewhere. In other words, it always intrigues me to look at the teams that are playing somebody coming off a bye, but you don't have a bye. So
yeah, like the rest disadvantage, right? Because the rest advantage is great, but you got to work with the disadvantage too. And I do think, Jed, in this world of football media and football analysis, where there are a billion different people breaking down every angle of the NFL and every angle of college football, wherever you get your content nowadays, video, audio, print, it doesn't matter. The one thing I think that people don't take into the equation enough when they preview games is rest advantages and disadvantages. I'm with you. Like, I think that's a real thing, especially once you get into like the middle and the back half of the season.
Absolutely. And those overseas games, I mean, I don't remember how many times Phil Steele told us last year with K-State and Iowa State starting the season in Ireland, how long that lingered. Like the coaches told him, it wasn't even like the 2 weeks later, it was 3 weeks later that they were most impacted by that. And you're playing some games real quick, that have some of these overseas.
And real quick for you, Jed, like, and I think most of our audience who listens regularly knows at this point, I work for the Steelers, like I host football radio here in Pittsburgh. I heard from the Steelers had the game in Ireland this year, week 4, right, against the Vikings in Dublin, first ever NFL game at Croke Park, first ever NFL game in Ireland. And then the Steelers had the bye week after, week 5, which is the earliest you can have one in the National Football League. And at the time when the schedule came out, a lot of players were kind of disappointed in that. Like, it's a veteran roster, right? Cam Hayward and Aaron Rodgers and Jalen Ramsey and TJ Watt. Like, these guys, we don't want a week 5 bye week, and then we have to play 13 straight games to end the season. But I'm telling you, by the time they got to week 6, they were like, yeah, we're glad we had that bye last weekend because we did not realize how much it was going to take out of us traveling 3,000 miles to play a game and back.
It's very taxing. And so if you look at the teams in the Big 12 that face a team that is coming off a bye, but they don't enjoy the same advantage, by my count, Wes, it happens 10 times. Baylor they're at Arizona State. Baylor's not off a bye. Arizona State is. Cincy is at Houston. Kansas, not off a bye, is at Utah. TCU, it hosts BYU. Of course, we talked about West Virginia hosting Cincinnati. Utah at Colorado. Utah's not off the bye. Houston at Kansas State. UCF at Oklahoma State. Arizona State at Texas Tech. And then finally, the Texas Tech game. We talked about Texas Tech, not off the bye, hosting West Virginia, which will be off the bye. You talked at the top of the segment about the Halloween bye week. I would imagine our listeners know by now I'm a Halloween freak. I was kind of distraught last year because my young guy is getting to the age where you just don't know how much longer he's going to be into the trick-or-treating scene. I'm kind of happy he still is, but we were worried this might be the last year. He might not be so game for it next year. And sure. I was on the road Halloween weekend, so I missed it entirely. I don't know if I was in Texas or Oklahoma. I don't remember where we were. I was somewhere across the country. So the fact that this year we have that wide berth,
it's awesome.
Of not even a midweek game, no games. You have your entire full bye Halloween week. I absolutely love it. So whether he likes it or not, he might be going trick or treating one more time. I'm gonna have to make sure of it, but. So that's kind of cool to have Halloween off. I really like that. Sit home, watch some football, trick or treat with your kid, do some autumn stuff. But there's worse times you could have your bye. Like I said, if you get humming, if you're healthy, knock on wood, that's the big thing. If you don't have the injury bug like West Virginia had last year, if you're healthy and things are going well and you've developed rhythm and you got some momentum going, well, you don't want necessarily disrupt things with that bye after week 6. So let's hope that's the kind of season we're having. And we're like, hey, good thing we don't have a bye. Let's keep rolling, man. Let's keep rolling. And then what you can do is you can say, all right, we've made so much hay through 8 games. Now let's rest
great
up
time to have a bye.
Because look, we got some challenges in those final 4. You're at Lubbock, you're at Salt Lake City. So and now you're ready to maybe make a run deep into late November. We play some meaningful football all the way to the bitter end. Let's hope that's how the schedule is shaping up. As there's sometimes you might be glad your bye didn't come till later. Let's hope we're one of those teams.
Jed, and I do, like, I hearken back to NFL parallels a lot because that's the world that I live in every day. When the NFL schedules came out this past year and Mike Vrabel was about to start his first year with the Patriots had the latest possible bye week in the NFL. Like week 12, I think, is the latest you can have one. And I remember Mike Vrabel over the summer being like, yeah, I don't love it. Like, it's my first year with a new team. You would kind of like the bye week to be a little bit earlier, so we have that week to kind of reevaluate and reset and all that in a new tenure. He's like, but it is what it is. And then you fast forward, and the Patriots are like 10-2 heading into their bye week, and Vrabel is like, "This is great. This is perfect. This actually worked out perfectly." So you never know. You never know. And now they're in the AFC Championship game, so you never know.
Now let me put my optimism goggles on, okay, and be the first one to lodge this complaint or concern. All right. Now this is the ultimate optimism goggles. I'll be the first to admit it. Let's hope that we're complaining because we're saddled with a trip to Salt Lake City in week 12 for a game that might have an impact on whether or not we have a short week to turn around and go to Jerry
Go back
World,
to Dallas. Yeah.
return all the way from Salt Lake City, and then have a short week to get ready to go to Jerry World for the Big 12
I'll take it.
I'll take There's my optimism goggles. So let me be the first to
champagne
put that
problems, baby.
Yes.
Champagne problems. Let's do it.
Yep. Champagne problems.
No, I like it, Jed. I think you nailed that breakdown very well. Only things I would add, as you were kind of talking that out, you get 4 games out of 12 against first-year head coaches. That's a third of your games against first-year head coaches. That's a pretty good spot to be. 3 of your first 5 games, only 1 of those is on the road, and 3 of those 5 are, or pardon me, only 1 of the 5 is on the road. 3 of the 5 are against first-time head coaches. Your first 2 Big 12 games, Oklahoma State and Iowa State, new head coaches. I think that's such a huge benefit. And then, the only time you have to go on the road back-to-back, you have the bye week in between. Those 2 things really stick out to me. The way you get to start against 2 programs that are kind of almost in a year 0 type with how much they lost on their rosters and all the turnover. And just in total, 4 out of the 12 teams you're playing with first-year head coaches. I think those are always little things that you look at and you go, yeah, man, I'll take that without a doubt.
Same reason the teams were looking at West Virginia, a team in transition last year, and saying this very thing. That's kind of the nature right now of the Big 12. It's been afflicted by a lot of this, including one we don't play in Chris Kleiman at Kansas State. They have now have new leadership at Kansas State. We don't play them. But then, in the offseason, we'll get into, as we parse out some of the portal activity and movement, new quarterbacks. I mean, look at Cincinnati. They might have the returning head coach and the staff intact, but they lost one of the more coveted kids in the portal in Brendan Sorsby, who's now at Texas Tech. We'll be facing him. That the downside is we'll be facing him in Lubbock, but the upside is we won't be facing him when Cincinnati comes to Morgantown. And what do they have to replace him? We'll see. That has to be fleshed out. But there's just so much change, and it's one of these deals where you try and look at it and say, boy, look at this schedule. This means, and we'll talk about strength of schedule, I'm sure, as these things are revealed, but it probably is more marginalized now than ever with the turnover, the unmitigated turnover in rosters. It's how meaningful is it what you did last year compared to this year, outside of a couple exceptions, because the teams are just so fundamentally different at every turn. So I don't even know how you can really look at a game and say, oh, I feel good about that one. But who knows what you feel good about or don't feel good about? It's like, again, maybe Texas Tech is the team that suffers the injury bug that we suffered last year. And maybe by the time we get to Lubbock, we're like, hey, good thing we played them late. Good thing we didn't get them early back when they were healthy, because look how banged up they are. They have 6 starters out now. Who knows? You just don't know. Now more than ever is the unpredictable X factor. But it's, in terms of schedule releases, I'll take it. We're not accustomed with all this change in conference landscape and realignment. I mean, remember in the past, we were having to wait until March or April. We were the last conference standing, waiting on those schedules to come out. Now, we're not necessarily the NFL. The NFL is doing it because of May sweeps. The old TV guy in me gets it. I understand.
Correct. Believe me, I totally get it. As much as I hate it, I get it.
Yeah, May's one of the 4 big sweeps months in television, so the NFL, nobody understands that more than the NFL. So it's like, but we were waiting till March just to see where we were in the Big 12 when we were realigning with the new members and all that.
It's like the NFL 2 years ago looking at Christmas and going, hey, wait a second, why don't we own that? Why don't we dominate that? Why are we letting the NBA have Christmas? It's like that same kind of thing. When the NFL decides what they want to do, you just got to kind of fall in line with it, because they're the big bad bully in the room. But I like it on the surface. I like this schedule on the surface.
Yeah, the other conferences, if they haven't already, they soon will. It seems like it's all funneled into a week or two now, these releases. that haven't come, soon will come. Is the ACC schedule out in its entirety? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think so.
I mean, all I'm asking for is I would hope we're so lucky, and I don't think the ACC would do this, but I keep hoping like maybe the week after we play Virginia, they're playing Virginia Tech or something.
Monday, Jed, January 26th, Monday, the ACC schedule gets released.
Yeah, I don't think the ACC would curse Virginia like that, but I would love to see them like have Virginia Tech the week after they play West Virginia. But I do think the ACC kind of goes out of the way to accommodate some of those rivalry games later in the year. Unlike the Big 12, but I'm not sure where our rivalry games are at this point. But so, yeah, you have the Big 12 schedule. Now it's just you have our schedule. Now, if you're, a 400 level geek like we are, you're just waiting on the other pieces to fall into place, like the ACC, to see who they might have. You know who they have before us. They play like a G5 game or an FCS game before us. But so I like having it in September. You can plan accordingly. Get your travel arrangements in order. It's only 4 road trips, 5 if you count Charlotte. Most people will drive to that. But so, and really, Wes, it's only one long road trip. And that's the other thing. I was going to say it would on its face seem like an advantage to park your longest road trip at the end of week 12, unless you're in that week 13 action, right? And you very much want to be part of that game in week 13 down there in Jerry World. So that's what you're striving toward, is to be playing the most meaningful of all football as deep in November as you can. So, I mean, last year we had the 2 long trips. We had Provo and we had Tempe mixed in there together. That was difficult to accommodate. They gave us the bye weeks after both of those. But this week, that's not necessarily the case. We're back to the point where we don't even look at Lubbock as a long road trip. I mean, think about that. Oh, it's just West Texas. It's not like some of these other schools we have to go to. So, but yeah, I like the schedule. I think there's some opportunities in it. Some of the things that I were hoping for, we got. I was hoping to play as many new coaches early as we can, and just look at the nature of it. Wes, week 1, new coach. First conference game, new coach. Second conference game, new coach. So, and like I said, the Utah thing's kind of misleading because Morgan Scalley's been there forever and a day.
Sure.
With Kyle Whittingham on staff. So that's not a big, transition for them anyway. So I think there's more advantages than disadvantages in this schedule. But what do we know sitting here in January about any of these teams? We just don't.
I'm looking at this, Jed, jealous once again, because I think I've shared this with you before, but like one of my bucket list life items I would love to pull off one day is to go to every single WVU game in a season. That's something that I acknowledge it will be impossible to do as long as I'm working in the NFL. Like, I might have to wait until I'm retired and older in my life. Yeah. But I look at a year like this and I'd be like, okay, only 4 games that I would have to fly to, because I could drive to Charlotte. It's 6 hours from where I live, easy peasy.
Yes.
And TCU right into Dallas, Utah right into Salt Lake City. Easy. Like, there'd only be 2. This would be such a great year for me to pull off going to all 12 WVU games. But
and I'll recommend this.
Maybe when I'm in my 60s one day, I'll pull it off.
We are, as I understand it, when we go to Salt Lake this year, we're going to stay not only in the same city but in the same hotel. When we played BYU last year, we stayed in Salt Lake.
Yep.
And I believe we're going to stay in the same hotel in Salt Lake again. And I do know this because I got up, the game wasn't until later. So I was walking around Salt Lake, just taking in some of the sights. We aren't that far from Rice-Eccles Stadium. We aren't that far from Utah's campus where we were in that hotel.
Sure.
So, and I would recommend, if you're a Mountaineer fan, now that you know the schedule's out, you have the dates, it's Thanksgiving weekend. So it's a holiday weekend. We're going to be traveling on Black Friday to get out there. The charter will be flying on Friday. I would recommend that trip. I mean, obviously, either BYU or Utah. It's so different out there and beautiful and breathtaking. And I'm eager, just like I was eager to go into Lavelle Edwards Stadium, and it did not disappoint other than the outcome. The environment was everything I hoped for and more. I'm just as eager to go to Rice-Eccles. I'm really eager to do that too. And if you have a chance to do that, please treat yourself and do it.
And Jed, funny little, as we wrap this up, funny little side note that just popped into my mind. So that game at Utah will be Thanksgiving Saturday. Mm-hmm. About a month after that, Utah's going to be busy in December because on January 1st, they host the NHL Winter Classic. They host the NHL Winter Classic, the outdoor hockey game between Utah and I think it's Colorado, I want to say, on New Year's Day. Gotcha. So they'll have a quick turnaround, about a month, to get that stadium ready for an outdoor hockey game after you're there.
I never even thought of that. That's pretty intriguing. That is very interesting. But
the Utah Mammoth are hosting their first ever outdoor hockey game.
I'm telling you, Mountaineer fans, you got to get there. Like you said, Wes, there's a ton of flights in and out. It's easy to get in and get out. It's beautiful. It's breathtaking. It's a clean city. It's fun to hang out and just walk around and take it all in. But I anticipate a tremendous football environment for that game, much like it was with BYU. But I look around this and every year I always ask myself, is there a venue that's new to me that I haven't been to yet? Okay. Yep. And last year there were a couple. I got to go to Lavelle Edwards. I got to go to Tempe with for the Sun Devils game. And this year I think the only one, if I'm not mistaken, I think the only one will be Utah, because we've been to the others. So unless I'm mistaken, I lose track sometimes. But
no,
that
sounds right.
That's it.
Yeah, you've been to TCU, been to Texas Tech, been to Iowa State. Obviously, you've been to Charlotte for neutral site games before, 2018 against Tennessee. So yeah, one new one for you.
Yeah, the TCU one is that's fun too. It's, if you've never been to TCU, Amon G. Carter, it's kind of quaint. But it's like it's hidden in this neighborhood that obviously has wealth, as private schools, you would expect that. But you're kind of just driving through this neighborhood with doctors' houses and professors' houses and nice architecture, and boom, there's the stadium. You're like, whoa, okay. And the first time it's kind of jarring, but after a while you get used to it. But it's a neat place to go. So I mean that's another one that's, if you're looking for easy access, easy to get in, easy to get out,
fly right into Dallas, Uber, no problem.
Yes, there's opportunities here. I mean, Lubbock with Preston International, it's easier to get in and out of than you would think, to be honest with you. But if you're so inclined, that's a different environment too. But I mean, we'll spend the off season. I'll break down again some of these, Big 12 venues and how they've changed through the years. But there's a couple right there. I tell you, if you want to jump into that Utah game, I would highly recommend that. I know I'm looking forward to that environment. But I don't mind the schedule. I don't mind it. Of course, we're undefeated. We haven't even punted yet. We're sitting here in January, right? Everything's all flowery. The schedule's out. Recruiting went well. The portal went well. So let's see how this goes and take a step at a time.
One step at a time. And here on your new favorite WVU football podcast, we'll be with you the entire way. But that'll do it for this edition of ITG. So make sure, if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for us. If you're on the audio side of listening to our podcast, wherever you're at, Apple, Google, Spotify, make sure you're following us there and spreading the good word as well. As we now know, you could go ahead and take that. I did it a couple 2 days ago. Jed took that family calendar that we have hanging on the refrigerator, pulled it down, wrote in all those fall weekends, and it's always an exciting time when you have that schedule and know where our Mountaineers will be throughout the fall of 2026. We'll have plenty more on that as we roll along.
We were heading to Mav's basketball game last night, and Chrissy had the same thing. I'm driving, and she's sitting there with her calendar out, and she had the WVU schedule, and she's writing this in and that in, and all the travel, when I'll be leaving, when I'll be home.
Yep.
Kind of stuff, yeah.
Gotta have it written down in stone. You gotta have it written down in stone there so everybody knows. And it's always an exciting time when you can start to plot out the football fall. But that will do it, for us on this edition of ITG. So for the producer, co-host, Mr. Do-It-All, Schuyler Callihan, for the runaway, barbecuing, sharp dressing beer truck, Big O, he's the signal caller, Jed Drenning. I'm Wes Uhler. The one thing we ask of you is to be an ear and tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast. Take care, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. You are in the gun.
ITG.
The fun doesn't have to stop here.
Be sure to hit subscribe and never miss an episode.
If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback,
be sure to follow us on X at In the Gun Podcast.
Join us again next time.
Until then,
tell an ear to tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast.
This mission is over. It's over.